Good Wednesday to you, everybody in COM 710. Welcome to week boom 2. How's everybody doing? I've right off the gate, let me apologize for the lighting here. I think something is the matter with my camera. Not sure what. Let me see if I can get some more light here. Alexa, lights on. That's a little better. Look a little orangey. But here we are. And let's get things started right. That's better. There's I. Now you're sufficiently caffeinated communication instructor. Welcome to week 2. Now, normally I do these videos like Monday or Tuesday, but since, Monday was a federal holiday, it's Wednesday. Okay. So anyway, okay. So what I'll do is a video probably tomorrow in which I talk about what you did in week 1. All right. But for this week, there are a couple things I need you to pay attention to. Your readings are in there. The discussion questions are up there. The drill. Okay. Let me say a little bit about discussion questions. I've had a couple of you contact me and say, I'm getting off to a bumpy start. I've got this going. I won't get around to my discussion questions, etc. I get it. Things come up, but it's really important that not only you answer the questions, but you engage in a dialogue with your classmates, because if you wait like a week or 2 weeks and you're writing an answer to you're writing a response to their answer, that's not a dialogue. Now you're in a monologue. Okay. So the idea here is for you to have a discussion. Make sure that you're in there in a timely manner. And just as important, make sure that you post your answers before, quite literally the 11th hour of the last day. Because when you post then, you don't give your classmates the opportunity to have a conversation with you. And that's what we're looking for. Okay. So for this week, ready? There are a couple of things that need your attention. Okay. You have the opportunity for 4 class presentations during this class. And, the idea here is, we're studying communication in a global environment. But I'm also hoping to acclimate you to the process of presentation for the purpose of getting to conferences, as well as the thought of publication. All right. So doing your 4 presentations, I want you to think about this like doing a presentation at a conference. And if you've never done a presentation at a conference, the utility of the exercise is it focuses you on summing up a lot of information and condensing it into a very small space. Typically, most conferences, you get a 10-minute slot to discuss your work. 15 or 20 max if you're lucky. Usually it's 10 minutes. So you may have spent weeks and months researching and writing and developing your findings. Then you got to get to it. So these class presentations are designed to help you get into that space. All right. So there's an instruction sheet in the modules for week 2 with with deadlines. I'll just give you the heads up, okay, that your first class presentation, and this is on the syllabus too, okay, is due February 5th. So that's what? Where are we now? The 17th. So that's that's like 2 weeks and change from now. Okay, very doable. All right. So that's the first thing I need you to pay attention to. Secondly, in this class, as part of this class, you have a research paper that you're going to undertake. All right. First thing you got to do, go into the module, get the research paper instruction sheets. Now, for those of you who've never had me before, and those of you who had, you can tune out, but you've never had me before, let me explain to you how I approach research papers. Okay. I like to break them into 2 parts with 2 different due dates, and that's how we're going to do this. So in the module, you will find the instruction sheet for part 1. Now, please note, you're only going to do 1 paper in this class, but we're breaking it in 2 parts. Why do we do that? Well, a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I want to give you as much in the way of useful feedback as I can about your research methodology, your writing. Okay. I mean, it's just really a practical matter that in the sort of the standard format, where everybody does the research paper and they turn it in on the last day of class, or 1 or 2 days before the last day of class. Okay. Finish that off. And then from the last day of class to when grades are due is typically like 3 days. Okay. I consider myself a quick and astute reader, but I just do not have the means, the bandwidth by which to give you meaningful feedback on your research and your writing within the space of 3 days, when your paper is one in a stack of maybe, depending on what the semester is, like 70 people. So, if you do just, if we do a little quick math, okay. And so, most graduate research papers are like, let's just say 20 pages. And, we times that by 70. That's, not counting appendices and bibliographies. We throw these in there. That's like 1,500 pages. No. Could I read 1,000 pages in 3 days? Yeah. Could I make meaningful comments and give you useful input on 1,500 pages in 3 days? No. Okay. So I like to break it in half to give you the opportunity to get some feedback from me. Okay. So for part one, and again, one paper, 2 parts. Part one, and you'll find this all in the instruction sheet. A couple of things to note. Number one, no draft work. This is complete. Each of the sections are complete, as they would be if you were going to turn them in. All right. I write a lot for magazines and journals and papers. Okay. And before I have an article that I actually write, I don't know what's going on with my camera. I apologize. See, that's a better lighting. And then watch this. Gonna have to fix that. Before I write, I have to send them the idea. It's called the pitch. The pitch is a draft. If I turned in a draft, just kind of like a couple of paragraphs sketched out for each section, they'd be like, what's this? Where's the piece? Same thing here. Do not turn in draft work. All right, so 3 sections I need you to do. Number one, introduction. Here's where you explain what it is you're going to study, and why should we care? Just to be blunt about it. I get it. Doing graduate work, I did 2 PhD programs. I understand is work, and then you've got jobs, many of you, and your families, and you're trying to balance all these things. I understand, but you should relish this time in your life, and here's why. It is a rarity in jobs that I'm going to tilt this camera just a little bit. It is a rarity in jobs that you get to work on exactly what interests you. Most jobs that we get, it's just handed to you. Okay. Relish that opportunity to work on exactly what interests you. That's the gift. But with the gift comes the responsibility, the obligation. And the obligation, first and foremost, is for you to pick things that actually really matter and present them in such a way that the rest of us are going to give a darn and want to spend our time reading it. And there's just no other way to put that. Okay. You have to make the case. So the introduction is where you do that. Make it compelling. Hook the reader in. Clearly explain the purpose and focus of your work. Not in a draft. Completed. Okay. Second section is a literature review. And by the way, if you have any confusions or your uncertainties about what constitutes, literature review or good introduction, I put a link in the instruction sheet to the University of Purdue. They have an online resource called the Purdue OWL. Look there. And then a methodology section. So all 3 of those have to be developed in full. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to give you some aggressive feedback. Oh, and this is due February 20th, by the way. Okay. And I give you this, I'm going to give you a lot of feedback because I want to help you in your professional development, especially in your writing. You could have the best idea in the world and the most amazing research and means by which to handle data. And if you can't communicate it out to the rest of us, because, we are communication people, it's like a gem locked in a box. It really doesn't have a value until it's out. So you work and focus on learning how to communicate your ideas in written form, because that's where most people are going to meet you and your ideas. So I'll give you a lot of feedback. If you give me completed work, I give you feedback. Whatever the grade is, whatever the grade on this first part is, when you do the second part, not two papers, one paper, two parts, when you do the second part, if you go back and change what I tell you, hey, don't do this, or hey, do more of this in part number one, whatever the grade is for the whole paper, that is with the second part, if it's higher than the first one, I'll raise your grade. I'll go back and change the grade on part one. So let's just say, heaven forbid you get a 72 on part one. Yeek. All right. And then in part two, you get a 92. Now, if you've turned in if you got a 72 because you turned in completed work, but you're really, crashed into the ground, but then you get a 92 because you fix all the stuff on part two, I'll go back and change the score in part one to 92. If it's draft work and that's why you got a 72, you're still going to have to fix it because, you don't want to give 72 on the whole paper for part two. You don't get the points. All right. So, because, you always hear this, writing is rewriting and it's this is doing and then this. All right, fine. Let's do rewriting. This is the opportunity for you to rewrite, learn from what you're doing, learn from the input that I'm giving you. I have been, in the writing and publication business for decades. So I don't know everything. In fact, I'm still learning. That's one of the things that keeps me interested in writing and work. But I have a lot to share with you. Okay. So get started on your papers. Secondly, as I was saying, you have 4 presentations. Your first presentation, and again, this is to help you sort of mimic what goes on in a conference presentation. All right. Your first presentation, you get, again, here, this is all up to you. You get to pick. I want you to select a global media entity, whether that's a not-for-profit, a company, some sort of state-sponsored entity. I want you to research it. I want you to do a write-up about it. And then I want you to tell all the rest of us about it in a no more than a 10-minute video that you will platform on YouTube. No other platforms, please. Do not send me PowerPoints. Do not send me Rumble. I'm not, look, hey, I'm not getting any sponsorship from YouTube, and they're not monetizing these videos. Okay. It's just, okay, I take that back. If it's Rumble, fine, but nothing else, because Canvas is a little twitchy and no Twitch. And sometimes when people post links to videos, they don't work, and I can't evaluate what I can't see. All right. So, if you do not know how to set up a YouTube channel for yourself, that's a Google question, and it's really straightforward. It'll take you like 5 minutes. Okay. And it's free. All right. So, and if you want to film it, you film it however you want, and you can upload the video or you can film it directly onto YouTube, which is what I do here. Okay. So that is due February 5th, and it's worth 100 points. All right. So for this week, we're going to start reading Vernon, her dissertation about media in Tanzania. And then we're going to read some thoughts on media out and about in the world. All right. And, some thoughts on what is cultural imperialism, because culture is often transmitted through media. And so the discussion questions will revolve around what you read in Vernon. And I want you to start looking at how a dissertation is composed and put together. Now, some of you are in the DSC program. Okay. And you might want to do a dissertation. You can. Maybe you just want to do a project. But for those of you in the PhD program, become really acquainted with this, because when you get to the dissertation, understanding how to structure these things is half the battle. And when you all methodologies and everything aside, there are two types of dissertations: unfinished and finished. And we want you to have the second kind. All right. So I want you to pay attention to how Vernon structured her work, because this book on radio in Tanzania is taken from her dissertation. Okay, everybody, that's all I got for you. Tomorrow, I'll give you a video on the work in week 1. Okay, give you some feedback, and make sure that you are participating in the discussions for the sake of points and for your classmates. Okay, all right, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week. God bless you. I will see you on Canvas. Bye-bye.